Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. How we doing? How we doing? My goodness, we're already at the finish line. We're at the Fantasy Football Championship.
Sad week.
This is it. It's very sad. Very sad for us three on the podcast right now because I don't think any of us made any single finals of our respected leagues. Some of us made it further than others.
I did actually.
Oh, you did? Congratulations.
As we're recording this on Monday evening, I'm rooting against Jonathan Taylor and Ben Groupie, but I'm up by about 40 points, so should be good to go.
Should be good to go. You should be good. I myself am still rooting for Jonathan Taylor to get me somewhere along the lines of 74 fantasy points. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, it's a non-zero chance. Let's say he put up a 50 burger. What's another 24 points? Anyways,
another game
against Tulane. Have to be against Tulane.
Anyways, but for all of you who don't need a Monday night miracle or are not going through Monday night asset, and you're listening to this podcast right now, and you guys are ready to go for Week 17, we applaud you. Absolutely. That is a great achievement in and of itself. It's hard to get to the big dance at the end of the year. You go through the whole 14 weeks of the regular season, and then you got the 3 weeks of the playoffs. It's a grind. It's tough. So props to you. Congratulations to you. And it's coming at probably the most wonderful time of the year. We got Christmas right around the corner too, which is
well done.
Which is so great. Like, you know what? The fantasy football gods are smiling on you right now. If you're like watching whatever slate of games are on right now on Christmas, and you're there and you're with your family and you're chilling, you're getting hammered and you're just watching fantasy football, and it's a wonderful time. It's just enjoy it. I don't think there's a lot of moments. The worst, yes, but what are you going to do, right? That the NFL can't control everything as much as the script is out. Anyways, so congrats to you. And before we get into this wonderful episode where we're going to be going through a lot of nuggets, a lot of stocking stuffers and a little bit of coal. We're going to put on some players for Week 17. Please don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter for all your weekly fantasy breakdowns. You see all of our handles right on the screen over there because we're a professional podcast, ladies and gentlemen, in case you weren't aware of that. This is real business that we do over here. So please send us all of your questions, your sit starts, your waivers. There's not too many weeks left in this regular season, right in the fantasy season. So send us all the questions you got right now. We're available to help you guys throughout this whole process. We want you guys to win that championship. So please send us all your questions. Ask us whatever you need to ask us. Even gift ideas. We're pretty good with that type of stuff too. If you guys haven't figured out what to get
down to the wire.
Down to the wire. We respect you guys for putting fantasy football first and gifts for your loved ones second. That's why we do this podcast. So please don't forget YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm Fab. That's Raj. That's Snack. We got a great episode lined up for you guys. As always, Roger's going to hit us off with the opening drive. He's going to go through some pretty interesting waiver wire stuff, and Nak is going to keep us honest as usual with love hate, which I think we did pretty good this week. So without further ado, hold on to your took. Let's go, Raj. Well, we got opening drive. Let's do it.
Let's go. Thank you, Fab. So Week 17 waivers for the Fantasy Championship. Let's get it. So first off at QB, we have Malik Willis for the Packers. Look good against the Bears, and Jordan Love is in concussion protocol. Not looking good in terms of signs for the game. I think the line was already favoring Baltimore or slightly towards Baltimore, so maybe not looking good in terms of his concussion protocol journey there. But again, Willis looked good, and he'd be a solid start versus a bad Ravens D on the run and throwing as well. He looked very solid against the Bears. And there's also Cam Ward, 8% owned. He has had 2 straight 2-touchdown and 0 INT games and is finally putting it together. Although we do like the Saints D, Ward would be an interesting play into QB and Superflex leagues. Moving on to running backs, Quinshawn Judkins for the Browns unfortunately broke his leg. There was Raheem Sanders and Travion Williams who took over backfield snaps afterwards. So in terms of the Browns backfield from that point on, Raheem Sanders had 77% backfield carry share, 6.7 target share, 2 of 2 backfield carries inside the 10. And then Travion Williams, 23% backfield carry share, but a 20% target share. And don't forget Dylan Sampson. He's been out the last few games, but there are chances he plays this week, and he'd be an PPR wonder for Shedeur Sanders. So personally, I think we would prioritize Sampson and Williams versus a Steelers defense that has been impenetrable against the run lately. And then there's also Chris Rodriguez, who looked very good against Philly and is somehow only 29% owned in Yahoo League. So look to get maybe Chris Rodriguez as well. And then there's Adam Thielen or Marquez Valdez-Scantling for the Steelers. So with the 2-game suspension for DK Metcalf fully official, those Steelers will be without their number 1 wide receiver. While MVS has ran more routes than Thielen over the last 2 games, Thielen went 4 for 49 against Detroit and has led the team in 3rd and 4th down targets. I think we'd all prioritize Thielen over MVS. He has exactly the type of skill set that works well with Rodgers, especially with his current quick game trigger offense. And then if we move on to the tight ends, so you saw there was Brenton Strange, but I'm going to start with Taysom Hill for the Saints. So really a sentimental showing in the last game against the Jets, potentially his last home game with the Saints, but he got a ton of usage, 55% of backfield carries, 12% target share, and obviously he passed for a touchdown as well. If Devin Neal or Kamara are out, he's easily a flex play versus the Titans, let alone a great tight end start. And then there's Elijah Higgins at tight end. This is a bit of a deep cut waiver pickup, but Higgins had 8 targets, 7 catches, and 91 yards with Trey McBride playing the full game. Arizona gets the Bengals' league worst defense against tight ends. It's a dart throw, but the Bengals have allowed 2 tight ends from the same team to have success in a few games this season. There was against the Bills with Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, both having very solid games. And there was also Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper. Henry had 7 for 115 and a touchdown, and even Hooper was able to provide 3 for 40 on 4 targets. And then, as mentioned, there's Brenton Strange, had a solid showing against Denver, 5 for 39 and a touchdown. He looks to be a very solid play again this week against the Colts. So that's your Week 17 waivers for this fantasy championship. Knack, who are we loving, hating for Week 17?
Yes, what a beautiful opening drive, Raj. Pick up those guys on the waiver wire. So we are going to go through our love-hate picks here for the championship weekend. But before, as always, let's look back at our Week 16 picks. We like to, as Fab mentioned, keep ourselves honest and humble here. So we did have a very good week. We recorded a week of 9-6, so pushing our overall record to 116, 114, and 2. So we are back on the positive side, boys. Round of applause.
Let's go.
Let's go. The big winner this week was Fab, went 4-1, missing out only on Jaden Reed in the love column, but hit on Ladd McConkey, Kyle Pitts, and the hates of Terry McLaurin and Brian Thomas Jr. Raj, you followed that up with a 3-2 stat line, missing out on the loves of DeAndre Swift, but you did hit on my boy Kenny Gainwell and Dalton Schultz. Missed out on the hate slightly on. You missed out on the hate for Ashton Genty, but hit on Quinton Junkins. I myself went 2-3. Aaron Rodgers missed on the love side. JJ McCarthy got hurt. Sam Darnold put up a massive performance on Thursday night, but I did hit on Jackson Dart and Jake Ferguson. So that was our love hates for Week 16. So this week, Fab is going to be opening up the circus with the quarterbacks you can actually rely on and the ones you should stamp with a warning label. Then I'm going to change charging in next with the running backs, and Raj is closing it out with the wideouts that are either going to win you a championship or send you into emotional recovery. So without further ado, actually forgot to mention the 3 tight ends that we love or hate this week as well. So don't go away after the wide receivers. But without further ado, Fab, why don't you kick us off to the Week 17 championship quarterbacks you love and hate?
Let's do it, baby. Let's do it. We got some serious love-hate quarterbacks going on right now. This is do or die. This is for all of the bananas and everything. And this is you're here for the championship. You're here to win. I went 4-1 last week. I know what I'm talking about. Anyways,
you're a man. You're 40.
I'm a man. I'm 40. So my loves this week are Tyler Shuck and Caleb Williams.
Yeah. Oh, my guys.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought about you, Roger, when I wrote these guys down. No, but for real, like Tyler Shuck, can we just take a minute and give some props to Tyler Shuck? Like Mans is QB 10 in the last 4 weeks, single-handedly propelling teams into the fantasy finals, ranking higher in the last 4 weeks than MVPs like Drake May, Bo Nix, Justin Herbert, and Baker Mayfield. I say MVPs as in like because they've been playing very well throughout the year, right? So, and this week in your championship matchup, he faces the Titans. They're giving up the 7th most fantasy points to quarterbacks and who have surrendered at least 18 fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks since week 7. Week 7. Shuck has shown true chemistry with Olave. In the last 4 weeks, is 5th most amongst quarterbacks. Sorry, excuse me. And has a real command of that offense. Is 135 rushing yards in the last 4 weeks. Is 5th most amongst quarterbacks. And that's like Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson type production. You can be extremely confident in starting Shuck in all formats. Even in 1 QB leagues, depending on your matchups and who else you have on your bench, I think he's a must start. This is a great matchup. He's been playing out of his mind. And the guy has some serious rushing upside too that no one's really talking about. So I don't know. I love Tyler Shuck and he's like we were all talking about Spencer Rattler and how he's going to be better in that offense and this and that, whatever. Shuck is shutting everybody up. So props to him. Must start for me.
I like it.
My other guy is Caleb Williams at San Francisco. So Caleb has been playing exceptional the last 3 weeks with at least 18 points in 3 straight games, and that was versus a tough Green Bay defense and Cleveland defense. So things get a little bit easier for him in the championship round of the fantasy football playoffs versus San Francisco, which are giving up the 13th most fantasy points to quarterbacks. San Francisco is a bend but don't break type of defense. They're giving up middle of the pack for yardage per game. However, 5th most passing touchdowns and only 2nd least interceptions. So there's a reasonable floor here for Caleb, who's already on fire with 10-2 TD INT split in the last five games. He's a surefire start for me in 2 quarterback superflex leagues. And if you're looking for a guy with a safe floor and a real shot of hitting the ceiling, I'd start Caleb with confidence over guys like Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, and even Justin Herbert. I have some honorable mentions as well. So we have Jackson Dart versus Las Vegas and Geno Smith versus New York Giants. 2 very bad defenses going against quarterbacks that have a good shot of actually.
Geno Smith. Are we mentioning that guy's name?
He came back last week and he put up 2 touchdowns, and he's playing against a defense that's basically non-existent. So you can do much worse. You can do much worse, to be honest with you.
We put it up in the we put it up in the graphic. Like you literally go after both defenses. They're playing each other. Like the battle of the worst offenses. This is gonna be hilarious to see. I don't disagree.
100%. Yeah. And also you have Drake May versus New York Jets and Jacoby Brissett versus Cincinnati, who amongst themselves will probably put up about 2 billion points in both those matchups. So those are the guys I love this week. I'm gonna move on to my hates. There aren't any comments from the peanut gallery. Move on to my hates right now.
No, we agree. We agree for once this week.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I got Jared Goff and Bryce Young. So Jared Goff at Minnesota. So for the last 5 quarterbacks that Minnesota have faced have scored under 8 fantasy points. They haven't allowed a passing TD since week 10. They haven't allowed a quarterback to score 21 plus fantasy points since week 9. Minnesota D are rolling right now. And even in fantasy with 3 or 4 games of 10, even in fantasy, this defense has brought you 10 plus fantasy points in 3 of the 4 last games. So they bring a ton of pressure, top 3 in the league. Goff has proven he can handle the blitz, but his production dips sharply when the pocket collapses. I think his upside might be capped here. And with his middle of the pack projections, which, have him around like QB 16, there's a lot of guys that I prefer around him that have much nicer and easier matchups. Jordan Love versus Baltimore. Obviously, if he passes the concussion protocol, unlikely, but if there's a chance, I like that matchup a lot more. Bo Nix at Kansas City and even Caleb Williams at San Francisco. It's a very tough matchup for Jared Goff. All right, silence is golden.
Tough to sit.
Yeah, tough to sit. I agree. But just you got to keep everybody honest, and you got to call balls and strikes. This is going to be a very, very tough game. And Minnesota have been playing out of their mind the last 5 games. Bryce Young versus Seattle. I think this is a straight sit. I don't think anyone's going to argue with me over here. Seattle giving up the 7th least fantasy points quarterbacks, lead the leagues in pressure. Seattle doesn't need the blitz to wreck a game plan. And that's really bad news for Bryce, who needs clean reads and defined windows. This is going to be a game of checkdowns and sacks for Bryce Young with constant pressure without having to send blitzes all the time. Also, Seattle feasts on obvious passing down situations, which I think might be the case for Young and the Panthers, as they're going to get behind early. So this is a straight sit for me in all formats. Honorable mentions, CJ Stroud versus the Chargers, Cam Ward versus New Orleans. I know we just mentioned he's been on a bit of a heater right now. I think you mentioned, Roger, it's 2 touchdowns in the last 2 games, but it's actually the last 3 games. He's scored. He's been doing very well. He's really turned the corner. Yeah, he's really turned the corner in his rookie season. And even Justin Herbert versus Houston. I think it's almost like in 1 quarterback leagues, these guys are all being sat for me. You're probably starting them in 2 quarterback leagues. You probably don't have any other options, but if you do, I would look elsewhere for sure. And so you're welcome, guys. When you win your fantasy football championship, you know where to find me.
Thank you for the quarterbacks, Fab. I will keep the ball rolling with the running backs this week. So my loves are going to be Rhamondre Stevenson at the Jets and Tyrone Tracy at Vegas. So we'll start with Rhamondre Stevenson. He's been very, very efficient when he does touch the ball, and he's been taking a little bit of a back seat as of late to Henderson, but he still put up double-digit fantasy points over the past 3 games. He went 8 for 51 and a touchdown on the ground, and 2 for 27 in the passing game last week. And with Henderson banged up and likely to miss Week 17, Stevenson becomes a must start versus a Jets team giving up the 3rd most fantasy points to wide receivers this season. And if someone in your league dropped him, pick him up and go win your league. This is a guy I'd love much more this week than Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker, and even Rico Dowdle.
Like the call.
Love it.
Then I've got Tyrone Tracy at Vegas. So he seems to alternate having a great game and scoring under 10 points. So he did score 9 points in Week 16, and he gets a prime matchup versus the Raiders, who've been an absolute dumpster fire. Running backs are averaging over 20 points a game over the last 4 weeks and have given up the 8th most points to running backs this season. I see Tracy as a great flex play with RB2 upside this week, and I like him over the likes of David Montgomery, Michael Carter, and even Kyle Manungai.
It was a bit concerning how much Singletary got. I think Singletary got like 12 or 15 carries, if I'm not mistaken. I guess the game script was it was worth it to be able to play 2 running backs, but
yeah, they had to. I guess that's what it was for sure. For sure, game script. But he's been alternating. He either scores 20 points or under 10. 20 points or under 10.
Yeah.
So this is the week
he's
where
pretty good. He's done really well though versus very tough defenses, and like against Washington in Week 15, he went bonkers. So I think this is a great call. Like this, this guy's gonna win somebody a fantasy football championship. Honestly,
Fab is a Giants fan, by the way, in case no one got that from his response. Moving on.
It's been 18 minutes. You mentioned the Steelers yet?
No, not this week. Running back hate, the ones I hate this week, I have Breece Hall versus the Patriots and Omarion Hampton versus the Texans. So Hall is one of those guys that can make it happen on any given week, but the Jets looked cooked with Cook at QB. The offense as a whole cannot be trusted, in my opinion, and Hall has seen less than 20 touches in 3 straight games and put up under 8 points in each of those contests. At this point, you're only starting him for his name, and I think he's a straight bench for me this week versus a Patriots team firing all cylinders, still trying to lock up that number 1 seed and giving up the 5th least points to running backs on the year. Give me Kenneth Gainwell, Tony Pollard, and even DeAndre Swift over Breece Hall this week.
Dude, starting Tony Pollard over Breece Hall is a take and a half, but you got to respect it.
We're here.
It's the right one.
We're here.
It's the right one.
100%. Things get crazy.
Yeah.
But Pollard every single year, end of season, last 3 games, 4 games, wild. He starts to heat up. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then I have a little sizzle one here. Omarion Hampton versus the Texans. Had a solid outing in Week 16, but that was poor Dallas D. This week, it gets a tough Texans D, who are definitely very upset letting Genty put up massive stat line on them last week. So take that game away, and the Texans are only giving up about 13 points total to running backs in the previous 4 games. So I would say Hampton's no more than a flex play for me. But if you have better options, I would surely consider them. He only had 7.5 fantasy points versus the Chiefs 2 weeks ago, and they give up the 3rd fewest points to the running back position. Again, I like Gainwell over him, Stevenson, as I mentioned before, and even Tracy in my love column, definitely starting those guys ahead of him.
Well, Genty was balled up pretty well, aside from the 60-yard touchdown. That was like a really nice running catch. But otherwise, he was balled up pretty. I think he had a pretty long run too. So outside of that,
it was a breakout run.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Hampton has that capability too, right? Yes, but it is going to take one of those long.
Exactly.
And I think they're going to want to they're going to want to clean that up for this week.
Are we expecting Ashton Genty to score another 32 points versus the Giants defense this week?
It's very possible.
I mean, I feel like they haven't used them enough in that type of scenario with like a long, like kind of wheel route, similar to how the Jags have been using Travis Etienne. I feel like Genty should be used that way. He has enough athleticism. He caught the ball enough at Boise State where they should be using him that way. Like find more creative ways to get him the ball. Like your offensive line is not good. So let's see if that's a pathway.
Yeah. Those were the running backs this week. Raj, why don't you give us some wide receivers, that you love and hate this week?
Yes, the wide receivers I love. So I'm going to start with Stephon Diggs at the Jets. So Diggs just got off a monster game against the weak secondary in the Ravens. He gets another bad secondary in the Jets, who've been a turnstile over the last 2 weeks. 10 for 148 and 2 touchdowns to Chris Olave and 3 receiving touchdowns to Travis Etienne. And to add insult to injury, they have the current record of 15 games in a row without a defensive interception. Diggs has also some bonuses and escalators in his contract if he gets to 1,000, 1,100, and 1,200 receiving yards, which is extra motivation for him to perform. I think he looked awesome, quick, and developing great chemistry with Drake May. He's becoming a really great leader in the locker room there. So really like Stephon Diggs at the Jets.
We're really picking on those New York teams.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I watched I watched a bit of that game. The amount of blown coverages. Like, look, Olave had a great game, but like the throw to Taysom Hill was like, what are you running there? So it's I think they've given up on the season. Second love, Justin Jefferson versus Detroit. I'm gonna quote Samuel L. Jackson. Enough is enough. I am sick and I'm tired of these mother effing questions about starting Justin Jefferson. What are we doing? How the hell did we get here with Justin Jefferson? Like,
hey, it doesn't have faith in Brosner?
Nope.
Dude, he's matchup. Anyways, signs he showed some signs of life against the Giants. 6 for 84, 35% target share, 88% catchable targets compared to 68% the last 5 weeks. Yes, it was JJ McCarthy, but we've been crapping on JJ McCarthy the entire year. So it's kind of a bit of a, like, we can't crap on the guy and be like, oh, like it's Max Hosmer, right? So anyways, the Lions pass defense has been downright awful the past 4 weeks. Most fantasy points to wide receivers allowed the last 4 games. Most air yards allowed on completions this season as well. They are good for what ails this Vikings passing game. Again, JJ McCarthy likely out for the season with a broken hand, but we've seen the Lions have a lot of injuries at the secondary. It's been decimated, and I will take any bet on a potential future Hall of Famer, regardless of the QB, all the time. So start your studs. I'm proclaiming start your studs. Justin Jefferson. It's the fantasy football championship. How do you not start Justin Jefferson?
You have to start him 100%. He's in your lineup. You're starting him.
Great matchup.
It's a great matchup. You just, man.
If he goes off and he's on your bench, like
you're starting him for sure. You're starting. He's going to get 8 targets. It's just, is he going to catch? How many is he going to catch? And and Max Brosner scares me. The last time his first game, he got like 4 interceptions or something versus Seattle. It was against Seattle there. It
was against Seattle. Yeah.
Very tough, but anyways, power to you, Roger. Putting your money where your mouth is. I like it.
A few honorable mentions: Adam Thielen at Cleveland, 4 for 49, already showing chemistry with Aaron Rodgers, who's been awesome in the last few games. There's Deebo Samuel against the Cowboys. They're 3rd in the league in rushes allowed to wide receivers and 5th in yards after the catch. They don't come often anymore in terms of that for Debo, but I think this could be a Debo type of game. And then there's Brian Thomas Jr. at the Colts, who allowed the third most completion air yards in the league this season. I think it's a great spot for BTJ being hit over the top against the Colts. In terms of wide receivers, I have Marvin Harrison Jr. at the Bengals and Michael Pittman Jr. versus the Jaguars. So I personally cannot trust Marv Jr. in the fantasy final. He only had a 61% route participation and 11% target share in his last game. Additionally, as stated earlier on, the way to beat this Bengals defense is via the tight ends, not the wide receivers. The Bengals over the last 4 weeks have allowed the fewest points to wide receivers in the league. Jalen Davis, their slot corner, has actually been one of the better slot corners in the league this year. And while Marv's only been in the slot 30% of the time this year, DJ Turner and DJ Ivy, the Bengals' other corners, have been very good in coverage according to their PFF coverage ratings. So I don't like Marv with the current ascension of Michael Wilson. And now even with Elijah Higgins, I think they're going to prioritize the tight ends this week. And then there's Michael Pittman Jr. versus the Jaguars. It's been a tale of two seasons for Michael Pittman Jr. in 2025. From weeks 1 through 8, where Daniel Jones was the runaway comeback player of the year winner, 16 PPR points per game. From weeks 9 to 15, and as we were recording this just before Monday Night Football, 10 PPR points per game. That drops to 8 points per game over the last 3 games. So funny enough, he had a solid outing, 9 for 79 against the Jags 2 weeks ago, but that was pre-Daniel Jones Achilles injury. I simply don't trust the Phillip Rivers Colts Part 2. 5-yard average depth of pass for Phillip Rivers, 4.4 yards per attempt, 2.4 seconds average time to throw. He's trying to get rid of the ball as fast as it comes to him. I think this is a ball control offense that is trying not to make mistakes and keep things close and allow Jonathan Taylor to run with it. Pittman is touchdown dependent play, who has only 1 score in his last 6 games.
Hard to argue with that logic.
Yep.
That was the wide receivers. Raj, why don't you give us a tight end you love or hate this week?
Yeah, a bit of foreshadowing. I talked a bit about him in the opening drive for waivers, but Taysom Hill, love him versus the Titans. So we mentioned in the beginning, but he's a very solid play over the next couple of weeks. Took a little longer than usual for the Saints to do their usual Taysom Hill touchdown vulturing, but with Devin Neal on IR and Alvin Kamara out since week 11, Hill was unleashed, and we got the full Taysom Hill experience. 1 for 1 for a 38-yard touchdown to Olave, 12 carries for 42 yards, 4 catches for 36 yards. I missed the days where Hill was eligible for 3 positions, but for 2025, he'll have to settle just for tight end. Thankfully, he's a must-start versus a Titans defense that has given up the 7th most points to tight ends over the last 4 games, even though he'll probably get more points passing or rushing the ball.
I love it. Love that call. Love me some Taysom Hill. Hopefully he shows out in his
You
last
love
game.
you love you some Taysom Hill unless you have Alvin Kamara.
Yes, 100%. I definitely agree
Yes.
with that.
Yes.
Fab, what about you? Tight end you love or hate this week?
I'm going to keep it rolling with the juniors. I got a Harold Fandon Jr. versus Pittsburgh. Great matchup at the best possible time of the year in the Fantasy Football Championship. Tight ends, he's been ripping it in the last 4 weeks and actually tight end 3 over that span. So Pittsburgh have been giving up the 2nd most fantasy points to tight end. So you need to get Fandon in your lineup in all formats, even in every flex spot, whatever it is. Like if you're flush on tight ends, you need to start him. I love this matchup for him. He can easily bring you back like a top 3 finish this week within fantasy, within tight end. I absolutely love this matchup. Start him.
I was going with the layups at tight ends.
Shadir's peppering him though. Like,
Hey, Kyle Pitts wasn't a layup last week. Kyle Pitts was. I called he was going to outproduce. I called it that he was going to outproduce his ranking, and he did. Just put it out there.
Okay.
Just saying.
Okay.
Just pray for no hospital ball.
Call balls and strikes.
I know hospital balls. Shadir's dying on Sunday.
Whoa,
I will finish it off with
Merry Christmas.
With a tight end I hate this week, and it's going to be Mr. Travis Kelce versus the Broncos. He continues to be ranked in the top 10 for tight ends on a weekly basis, which is pretty strange to me. He scored under 2 points in 2 of the last 3 games. Last week with Minshew and Oladikum, he managed 1 catch for 6 yards. So this is definitely the end for Travis Kelce. If you're starting him this week, enjoy whatever prize you get for second place. He's not only a sit for me, he should not even be rostered. Denver's middle of the pack versus tight ends, but I can't trust any QB that the Chiefs are going to trot out there. Are they playing Christmas? They are playing on Christmas. To get the ball and produce, go grab like Darren Waller off waivers. We mentioned Brenton Strange would also be a good start, and even Dallas Goedert, who's had 3 straight double-digit point games as well.
Dalton Schultz, like just you can literally mention
there's so many more, and I'm sure waivers is full of them that you can start over Travis Kelce. Stop starting Kelce, especially not championship weekend.
It's a good thing only one of us had a layup in this section this week.
Your tight ends are tight end 2, tight end 3.
No, it's
sitting Travis Kelce
name brand
with the third quarterback.
People are still
starting name brand players.
Yeah, and that's why they listen to this podcast to know about layups.
Jesus. Someone's getting saucy.
Hey man, don't hate the player, hate the game. Who's 4-1 last week? I better not go like
I should have chose to start JT this week and CMC and not start.
Let's go back to Tyler Higbee 4-point projection.
Bush League Huddle 2024. We've been better. We've been better with the layups.
That'll do it for another edition of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. Good luck with your championships, everyone. And as always, we'll see you next week.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Yeah. Good luck, man, and women.
Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. Any more?
Happy.
I don't know anymore, to be honest with you. I don't know if... I think that's enough, though. I think happy holidays. Happy holidays. Enjoy fantasy football for the remainder of the year.
Goodbye, everyone.
Enjoy your family, okay? Enjoy your family. Stop listening to us already. Go have fun with your family. Get out of here.
Goodbye.
Peace out.